welcome to the live stream. My name is Margaret. I'll be your broadcast engineer for today. Welcome, everybody. Good to see you all. I am here with the wonderful Christian Schmitz, who is the creator of the MonkeyBread plugin, who has been on here many times before. Seriously, all of his stuff is legitimately fantastic. I have just begun coding again myself for the first time in a couple years, and it's always like, oh man, it makes everything so much easier. So, with that being said, let's talk about our live stream schedule. Hello, we've got today we're discussing debugging your FileMaker server with the MonkeyBread plugin. Tomorrow will be PDF forms using DynaPDF. That should be really interesting. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday should be the last 3 days for Nick's series, which will be existing FileMaker file design and modernization, OCR specifically. And Thursday will be beginner and intermediate open Q&A. So if you've got questions, that'll be the time to take them. If you'd like to support the channel, we would greatly appreciate it. We have our FM training annual subscription bundles, which is really good for beginner, intermediate developers. Pretty much, if you're like, man, I'm totally new to this platform, what do I do? This is a really good start. It's also good for filling in gaps of knowledge. If you're like, I know a lot about, relationships or anything, but I don't know a lot about calculations, or I don't know a lot about variables for some reason, or I don't know a lot about WebDirect, server, cloud, all that jazz. We talk about all of it. Also, you should go get this plugin. Seriously, it is not very expensive. It has over 7,000 functions now. It is absolutely fantastic. Seriously, I will link this across all the stuff. Please go get this. It is wonderful. It is well worth the money. We don't really, generally, Richard has a rule about not advertising a lot of FileMaker stuff. There's like 3 companies we advertise. This isn't one of them. It's for a good reason. Christian has also been kind enough to frankly come multiple times on this show and talk about FileMaker with us. So, with that being said, I am going to ask him, Christian, what are we doing today? Where are we starting?
Well, today we want to play a little bit with debug functions in the MBS plugin. So let's say you have a solution and you use plugin functions and you like to, do some things, and you may accidentally have some kind of bug.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you have an if clause and you say if $test, and it's of course not defined. Let's say it's a global test. Okay, you have a global variable, you have a script, and you like to log what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So how could you do that? And I want to show you the log function we have in the plugin. So you call the plugin usually with a set variable line, log, and then you say here something. First branch, copy that down, second branch. So you would like to log where you go, and the log function in the plugin is good for that. So we can run it, nothing happens. There's my log. So we usually log to the console application on Mac and debug view on Windows, so you can see all the log entries live. So let me search for MBS here. You can run it, and we see here something is happening. Second branch. So you have a way to write live messages into the console app on Mac, or the same on Windows. Let me see, I got a Windows here. I made a test installation recently. So let's see, make a new one, make a new database. So let me do a log call here. No, that's wait, this is in German. I think you guys might prefer if I switch to English.
There we go.
Set variable, MBS, log, test message. So I can run it, nothing happens. Where's the log? The log goes to the debug view application. Now you may ask, where do I get it? So you open your browser window, you type in debug view, and you see, oh, there's a little app from Microsoft called Debug View. which you can download and then run, and it can show you all the debug printings of various applications. We can run a debug view here, capture. So you can, of course, you can save the log, you can redirect the log to a file. You can here capture Win32, and this captures the plugin functions, plugin call here. So we see test message here. So you have a live way to see log messages. Let me show.
Really cool.
Yeah, let's show you a little more. Let's say we insert a for loop, which goes to 10. So you may have loops in your script. I often see people wondering how things work and why something doesn't happen. And sometimes you can't use a debugger because the script is running on a server, or it's running, and if you use the debugger, you change focus. So the wrong window is in the front, and things work differently with the debugger while debugging. So you may just say here, you may there's no log command here. We have to use set variable. So, and I can say here $count is $count. So I can pass as many parameters as needed. And then here I can say, and here something like after the loop. So I can see what's happening, and I can run it and see the log messages.
So it lets you know exactly when it begins failing?
Yeah, so you would see, oh, it should go to 10, but for some reason it doesn't come past 5.
Mm.
And especially, you would see the log message if FileMaker would crash. So you could see what's the last log message I see before the script is crashing, is ending for some reason. Okay, there's another possibility to see the live messages, and that's by launching FileMaker with the terminal. So applications, FileMaker, what is it, 20? Yeah. So you can run an application on the Mac with the terminal directly. So I can just launch here, and all the messages from this application show up here.
Mm-hmm.
So now I have 2 copies of FileMaker. And this is a German one. So I made a little script here, which launches FileMaker in English.
That's cool.
So I can just run it. It's like my little Apple script apps I have. So I have here now the English version, and I can go to the data viewer, and I can say something like log hello world, evaluate it, and you see the message here.
Oh.
So all the log messages now go to this terminal window, which can be better than the console app. That's your decision. I mean, you may also see it here. Let's see, there's hello world. So the console app is for log messages from all applications.
Mm-hmm.
And by launching FileMaker from the terminal, we see the messages here.
So that way
And we also see here some other message from a framework here complaining about something not being correct. But you can ignore that.
But in terminal, you'd only see the FileMaker messages, correct, instead of sorting through all of the other messages?
Yeah, yeah. I put here a search for MBS because this message is sent by FileMaker Pro as application, and the model is MBS.
Mm-hmm.
So I can filter by MBS to see all output from MBS functions. I could also just search for FileMaker to find everything from FileMaker, which can be more
than you actually want, especially if you're looking for specific log answers. Yeah.
Okay, so we have that. Now that we have the live monitoring on Mac, on Windows here in the debug view, we can also have use MBS trace function. to lock the plugin calls. So in your solution, you may say, I have a script and I want to go debugging. Let's say trace on. And this script could say, oops, variable, could say trace without a parameter. So I run it. Again, there's my log. Here. No, let's search again for MBS. So you see here, the plugin logs the call for the trace function already. So you see script trace on in file test is running. This is the MBS plugin call number 1 with 1 parameter. There's the parameter is the function name and the result is okay. So you can see the same on Windows here. And just go to the data viewer. So if you are at a client database, you can just type it manually and evaluate once, and then it's on. And now you can call MBS functions and see them in the trace. Let's try one. Let's say you have a function where you call something like, what could you call? Let's see, container read file function, and you would see here requires 2 parameters, and you would see here some debug messages. Okay, let's try it again here. So MBS container read file, there it auto completes the parameters. Yeah. So again, we run it, and in the log we see here the call. And now let's say you just pass it here a file name, invalid one. So no such file, and you see it's logging here function name, file path. So we got the metadata for the plugin functions in the plugin itself. So it can tell you that the parameter 1 for this function is file path, and you see the file path. And that's
cool.
very important because I get a lot of complaints where people use the wrong file path. The function doesn't log. They think they pass the file path, but maybe they have a typo in the variable name. Or they construct the path, like you would something have here like $folder and test.txt, and you evaluate it, and you variable is not set, it's not defined. And then you would see here the file path test.txt.
That's
okay.
We have a quick question.
Yeah.
When using the log, have you also implemented log levels so you can have a log concept?
No, this function doesn't have log levels. Sorry. You could decide to do the trace not just to the console, but maybe you want to keep the trace somewhere, and you can just have it go to a file. So you can say users, you can build a path, of course, and you can redirect the trace log to the path and just run it. Let's run it. So we got a file here.
Oh, cool.
So let's open in a text editor of your choice. And now you have a text file, and the plugin continues to write to this text file. And you can then later decide to, let's make something. Yeah, let's make a few bugs. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No parameters, evaluate. And you see the log is added. So it has, again, here parameters listed and the result. And since I use bb-edit here, this application will show you changes on the file as they happen. That's different than, for example, Notepad on Windows, where you have to close the file, reopen it to see the new content.
If it's open, will it not write anything to it, or it will just not update until you close it and then reopen it?
No, the simple thing is an application like bb-edit will watch the file for changes, and when it sees the file changed, it will reload it.
Got it.
Other applications may not do that.
Got it.
But now if you run one of our examples here, let's say I just here run a barcode creation. So, and you see all the calls happening. So here, barcode function called, you see the parameters, which value is which parameter. And sometimes you see container values, like here, this is binary data. You're not supposed to, well, there's not really something printable. So we hide a lot of control characters with dots. But you can see the values passed, like this is in quotes, this is a string, this is just a number, and the container is always shown with the content, like in this case, 4 streams. So this container value, the barcode, contains a file name, it contains a PNG file with a picture, and some size information, so FileMaker knows how big the picture is. And you can see that all in the log, which helps a lot for debugging. I think that was in the description. So let's say you have a script to do something. Let's say our test script is set field, test, hello. And you can run the script, of course, and it will just work here. And let's say this is your little test script, and you like to perform this on the server. Let's say you have a calculation here, 1 + 2. This is an example. Your calculation could be complicated, and you may want to run it on the server. Do something useful. And now you are maybe a beginner, and you think, okay, I will just run this on server. Perform script on server. We pick our do something useful script and run it. Okay, just okay. Zygote is locked. I'll make a new one. So run on server. And tell me, did something change? Is the global view? No, it's not. So, okay. Run script on server, do something useful. Let's say we write here something like get application. 1, 2. Now that's something surprising. No, if we could ask it. So, so we run a script on the server. Maybe it's just because we only have one table. Let's make a new table, test2. Quit it. So, okay, the amazing thing is that this works. There is no commit here. There's no go to layout. Oh, let's do a log message here. Like, get script name. Get what was his first name? So let's run on server. Where's my Linux server here? No, not this box, this one. So on Linux, we can view the live log in the terminal. Let's show you where the logs go. So you have your computer, you have your FileMaker directory, and there's a logs folder. And so here you see this log files. So standard error server scripting log. This is from the MBS plugin as well. If you install it for server scripting, there's also one for data API and one for Web Direct. And so we can double click it, and you see MBS plugin is loaded for server scripting. And there's a script running, do something useful on Ubuntu Linux. And we have also the standard out file. There's nothing. Okay. So I see the log message here that the plugin printed here. Get script name and get host name. So I see it's running here.
Jacob says only one layout, only one table, so the database is only one place to leave the user, and you're getting the data in the first record for the same reason.
Yeah, that's amazing, because usually you need to, at least you need to commit. That's so I have now two layouts here. I can put a field here, test2. But for some reason, it's just writing here the value. Let's try again. Implicit commits.
Implicit commits.
On server. Implicit commits on server. Okay. Yeah. So let's just use the other table. So it's amazing that you end up in the first. But why I'm getting the error script? This is a server-based database.
I'm confused as to why it's mad about the relationship. Like there shouldn't be any.
Yeah, well, because it's here test2.
Yeah.
Okay. When we are going to the server and we end up on the first layout by default, then of course this relationship doesn't work. This field doesn't work because there's no relationship.
Got it. So it's just going to the first layout, so it's going to be mad no matter what. Got it. Okay.
Okay. So I didn't know this, so like implicit commits. Okay, usually I would expect a commit, and I would expect a go to layout, layout 2, go to first record. So we go to the record, we write something. We have no record. Now we have a record. It's really.
There we go.
So there we were writing something. So, okay. The normal thing is you want to debug this, and so you ask to go to layout. And now FileMaker has the ability to log script errors on the server, which can be very useful. But sometimes we like to log ourselves. So we could say something here like, we could check if an error happened. And then we could, for example, write a log message. Failed to go to layout, test2. Or maybe it's too late for today. I prefer to write not equal to 0. Otherwise it worked, and we can now log here that we reached this point also. Into field 2. Here it shows us that we can reload. Yeah, it came to this position. Yeah, it came to this position. Let's make the barcode generation on the server. So we see something in the trace. So let's see. I copy the script. Very simple script. Image. Another thing FileMaker does. So here's a MBS call. I copy. I paste.
I didn't copy the call.
Yeah. Let's copy it manually. The table is missing. So the calculation is removed if the table is missing.
So interesting. It just doesn't like show you as a bad table, it just removes it entirely.
Yeah, this is there's a lot of things changing in FileMaker. So we make an EN code 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's see if it runs. Yeah, we got a barcode. We got a little barcode. So now let's see the trace messages. There are none. Let's turn on tracing because we like to debug this. So just trace without parameter, so it ends up in the log file here. Reload.
Oh.
So we see all the log messages. So the plugin also logs which script it is. We see the trace call. We see the barcode generate call with all the parameters. We check if it's an error. We got the PNG. And we clean up the image. And yeah, this works.
Cool. There you go.
So, and let's say we change the script and say here barcode text. I put it in a field, and then I use this field for my calculation here. Sometimes formatting doesn't work. Okay, I put it in and I run it, and I get a. Is it the same barcode? I run it and I don't get a barcode. So, and then customer calls me, this barcode function is broken.
And it should tell you where it failed now, right?
So we see it here, barcode is generated, and here, missing text. Because the customer thinks the field is passed, but it's not, so the text is empty.
So it can't make anything. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's honestly really cool. And then you could theoretically, so when you put trace at the start of a script, will it only log that script? Will it log every
No, it looks
MBS
globally.
function? Oh, okay.
Globally, all scripts.
So all you need to do is have it, so you could theoretically put it to run in the startup script, and it would catch every issue with every MBS for as long as the session went? Okay.
Yeah, until FileMaker is quit, the process quits.
Cool.
So you can turn it on, and of course you can, if you like, turn it off. We got this off function. So, but I can just keep it on here, and you see it. Reload. Got another call here. I could really put some text inside. So okay. So I can turn it off if I like. So we often have this trace on, trace off scripts in the solution. So we can turn it on and off as needed.
When you want to. Does it take up like a lot of processing power, or does it, processing might be the wrong word, but like,
I don't think it's really something you can measure.
I didn't think it would be either, but I thought I'd ask.
So you may have a trace on, trace off, so you can see the logs. When you put the log in a file, you can, of course, later turn it off and then load the text file into a field in a special table, so you can see what's happening for a client which lives in a different country, maybe. Now you may run several scripts in parallel on the server. Let's do that. So you may have, let's say we have here a processing script to do something on the server. Let's say this one is a loop, let's say 10, and it does a very important plugin call. And that's something like MBS time sleep. So we have a sleep command. See, I think it's milliseconds. So I can intentionally delay a script in a calculation with FileMaker. So the plugin just pauses for this time and waits. So process on server. So we run it on the server. And let's see. And you see all these calls here. So now what happens if you have several scripts running? Oh, don't I just have also a function to query the time or so? Did I do that? Oh yeah, there's a Unix timestamp. Yeah, this could be. Let's say we want a Unix timestamp to see how time passes. So I could decide to say, run it 4 times in parallel. 2, 3, 4, 5. So, and now you see we have a lot of plugin calls, and we may see something that 2 scripts are running in parallel. So you see here, MBS plugin call 101 is starting, but it finishes here.
Oh, okay. So they'll, if there's scripts, multiple scripts, they'll like combine.
So 102 is starting here and finished, but also 103 is starting, and then 79 is finished. This can be a little bit, let's say, annoying if you have all your different server scripts interlaced. So we got a lovely idea to trace on a server. Let's go topics. So on the server, you can have several log files. Set server log path. Okay, so we can just tell the plugin to write several logs into the folder, and then every script gets its own log file.
Oh, that's cool.
So I will just use this script here to turn it on. So first question is, did it work? Yeah, there is a trace txt. This is a call for one of the script, for the script. Yeah. So now let's run 4 in parallel. 2, 3, 4. And you see we have 4 different text files. And each text file shows the calls for one of the threads. So every script on the server is running in a thread. Those threads get reused for future scripts. So if you run server scripts one after the other, you will see them going into the same, let's try it again, or into new one. That's depending on FileMaker, but usually they reuse the threads.
Okay.
So here I can now see the calls for one script, and yeah.
That's really useful, actually. Really narrows down when you have to hunt for a specific problem, and you have the trace just running generally.
And now let's just take a look what happens if we do a log call. That's now the funny question. What will happen here? You see we got a 5th file for some reason.
Oh.
Here's our log call. So a thread pooling, with thread pooling, you reuse threads as much as possible, but of course you will, if you don't have if you don't use a thread for a long time, you will of course eventually destroy it, close it down. So when you need more threads, you will recreate one. So you can have trace files per thread. And the long number is the thread ID.
Got it. And I think you can identify script IDs in MonkeyBread, I think? Or is it just a thread ID, not script ID?
This is thread ID.
Got it.
But let's go in the documentation. All functions are current thread ID. So we have a function to give you the ID of the current thread your script is running on, which you can call always. It's just a number. But on the server, it can tell you if it's the same as before. So sometimes this may be useful. Yeah, there's a main thread, which is a main application. So.
And you can set thread names. Interesting.
Yeah, that's only useful for crash reports. So you can give a thread a name, so you see that name later in the crash report, and you know which thread run your script also.
Got it.
So you can, yeah. And also I got this blog post here, how to use trace. So that's basically things we are talking about, how to debug plugin calls and especially issues in FileMaker on the server. So you can use a trace, we showed that. You can use the tail command to show the log live in a terminal window. We got the trace with a file, and you can do a calculation like this to automatically build a path for wherever the user has its desktop. His desktop, yeah. You can watch live on debug view on Windows, a console on Mac. Even with the iOS SDK, you can do live watching with using the Xcode window.
That's useful.
Yeah, and then, of course, use the log function. And as you see, the log function call is not listed in the trace log. So we only log the output of this command. And you can pass as many parameters as you need. And yeah, just write log entries.
Got it. Cool. This is very cool. Makes things going back and figuring out problems you've made a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah. Everyone on
there was
holiday.
the only question that popped up is there a performance hint to having trace active, which you answered. The answer is negligible, I think you said.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, it takes some time. I mean, it's disk EU. Well, if it's going to a file, this will go through the file system, and because we flush after every call, so after every call, we make sure that the log text is in the log file before we continue. And that may cause a short delay. Milliseconds. But
there you go.
Usually that's not a problem.
What add lines to trace logging? What would you use that for? Trace write line. Yeah.
Yeah. So this just writes a message to the same log. So the log message goes to the console. But if you want to write if you redirected the trace to a text file and you want to add a line there for yourself, you would use this function.
Got it. So if you had a specific message that you wanted to set.
Yeah, you want to add something to the trace logging. Like the log call, but it should go to the trace file. You can have trace log with times, can be very useful. Let me just enable that and then see what it does here. Now you could turn this on somewhere on the script. Did we redirect here? Yeah, so you see here's a timestamp showing result at. So
that's cool. So it tells you exactly when everything went to crap or
completed,
or
just wonder why. Let me just click here button. Get some more logs here. So you see there's a call at a certain time. The result is coming at a certain time. So you see not just the entries, but you see at what time they happen. So you can look for entries which take a long time. But for entries with a long time, we also have a feature in the plugin that it shows you things that take a long time. So let's evaluate this complicated function. Just pauses for 10 seconds. So let's see, this is the trace log. You see it finished, and then the plugin also logs that it took 10 seconds, because I think if a function takes 10 seconds or more, we will add it to the log.
So automatically that'll be put into log.
Yeah, so you can see what are your expensive calls.
Got it. That's cool.
Yeah.
Could you set it to monitor a shorter period of time if you wanted it to?
No, I think that's hard-coded for now.
That makes sense.
It's just to show slow plugin calls. You can have the trace only show error calls. So you would log only the MBS calls which return an error.
Oh, okay.
And not the working one. So instead of logging maybe a few thousand per day, you would only get the 5 which fails.
Got it. Okay.
So
that would make the log
so you can pause a trace if you need. Like if you know you would like to trace the whole script, but in between you like to pause for 5 lines and then resume. You can do that with the plugin. You can, of course, call pause several times, and then you have to resume several times. So you can use it in several scripts to just pause for a short time.
Interesting.
Yeah. If you forgot where you saved your trace to, you can ask for the pause. Yeah.
Where is it currently meandering off on? Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and the error logging is also very useful. I think that's even on by the on by default. So here you see the notification. Do you see that?
Hold on. I'm moving. Yeah, okay, there we go. Unknown function trace error. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so let's do it again. Give it a different name. Why is it not shown directly? I don't know. Maybe because I'm presentation.
Yeah.
I'm presenting, so probably it turned off. So, okay, MBS plugin error unknown trace.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So this should be on by default, but you have to allow FileMaker permissions to show notifications. So in the system preferences, you have to enable banners notifications. So you have to enable FileMaker to be allowed to show it.
Means you don't have to go looking in the log. It just pops up like, hey, there's an error. Go figure out where the error is.
Yeah, if a longer script is running, it may show several things, several notifications. They hide over time, I think here, after 5 seconds or 30. So if the same error is happening again, we don't show the same message again. If we just showed you an error, we wait 30 seconds before showing the next one, so we don't have too many notifications, and they auto-close after a few seconds.
Got it.
So, but it's a nice thing when I'm running through a script, there's an error popping up. So do we have any questions today?
Nope, just this has really been informative and interesting.
Yeah, especially that I learned something. Implicit commit and going to the first layout and the first table of the file.
This is cool.
Yeah.
It is cool. This makes figuring out what did I do wrong with all of my MBS functions much easier. And also just logging general errors if you've got them. So in that case, I think unless you got anything else to say, Christian, I'm happy to wrap us up for today.
Yeah, see you tomorrow for our little talk about PDF forms.
Yeah, go buy this, people. There's a free download version, which you can definitely check out. But seriously, this is worth the money. Please go get it. I highly recommend. Makes life so much easier. See you all tomorrow, guys.
got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir!